Hey, what's going on, guys? Justin Williams here with Dirt Time Adventures, and today we are covering the sixth principle of the 6 principles of survival. It's the final episode, and this is part 2 and of the sixth principle, which is to manage caloric intake and expenditure. First part, we covered fish and foraging, and today we're going to be talking about hunting and trapping, so stick with me. So at the end of the day, being able to procure food is going to be what separates the survivalist from those who perish. Unfortunately, too many people go out into the woods every year and die out in the woods due to the elements, starvation, dehydration, and exposure. And with these 6 principles, you should be able to go out there and survive for short to long-term periods. But having the skill set to provide food for yourself in the midst of a vast forest, being able to get on their animals and find the food is extremely challenging. And so make sure that you have the skills needed to be able to survive. Everything from making a quickie bow and some arrows, and you can break down arrows into your pack if you wanted to. You can take everything from like the what we sell on our website, the sling bow, something you could easily pack in your backpack to help you procure food. You could also go with some various modern traps, like the body traps, the little conibear type traps that we sell as well. But in a true primitive situation, you're going to be stuck with either making your own bow and arrow or doing something simpler like a war club or some type of rabbit stick. Every little advantage that you can get in the wild is going to help you increase your odds of survival. And so even something as simple as this prehistoric type war club, they used it for generations to be able to run up on game and dispatch it. I can't tell you how many times I've been able to sneak up on a possum, armadillos, even rabbits. When rabbits get really startled, their heart starts racing really fast, and they kind of just pause up on you just enough to be able to get a nice throw at one or to sneak up on one and club it. And so I can't, people all the time bash the thought of eating an armadillo. The key to eating an armadillo is making sure you're using clean food practices. Make sure you're washing your hands. You're not handling any of the meat with cuts in your hands. Making sure that after you're done cooking it, that you wash your hands again multiple times. It's the same with the rats and the mice in our traps. People say, well, you'll get the hantavirus with rats. You'll get leprosy with armadillos. It's all about clean, safe food practices. Washing with your hands. Wash, wash, wash. But today we're not talking about that. We're talking about food procurement. And as you can see, with a simple self-made bow, you can get extremely accurate with that. So get out there and practice. Another technique, once again, you have the club, the war hammer, but something as simple as a rabbit throwing stick can also be huge. It's a very simple process. I like to get my rabbit sticks from about armpit to palm, and they fit good in my hand, and then I can toss them. And this is a primitive method, and so it's not considered legal, but I've gotten pretty accurate with it, and so you can too, just by going out, getting you a stick. And you don't even have to have anything fancy. Put out some pop cans, practice hitting those pop cans or old coffee cans, and see how accurate you can get. So the biggest difference between hunting and trapping is a passive activity in order to procure food, whereas hunting is very active. And you're going to burn through a lot more calories hunting game than trapping. So that's why we're huge proponents of trapping over hunting. But at the same time, even when it comes to trapping, you're constantly having to go out, scout the area, and find out where the animals are. Another common food source that people don't think about in a survival situation that is usually pretty abundant, especially all seasons throughout the spring and on into the winter, is insects. And I know that doesn't seem like a very appetizing thing to eat, but you have to be an opportunistic survivalist. When food presents itself, you eat it. And I know the thought of eating a grasshopper is the least appetizing thing on your diet. But this little guy right here is packed full of protein and can provide you tons of nutrients. And believe it or not, they actually taste really good. You just got to cook them up, and they're delicious. So we're gonna let that guy go because I don't need the food, and there ain't no use to taking a life just for the sake of this video. So we're gonna let him go, and we're gonna move on now to trapping. So we already talked about the benefits of trapping and how it requires very little calories. You can build a lot of these trap triggers at camp around the campfire during the evening, and then while you're going out tracking or looking for signs the next day, you can be setting your traps. Now you can do everything from large scale traps like this scissor deadfall behind me, all the way down. You can scale it down to mouse size. Also, we teach different deadfalls on our website and on our YouTube channel. So be sure to check out our Trapper's Bible. But I wanted to show you this one real quick. Once again, it's called the scissor deadfall. I'm going to have a how-to video coming out shortly, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And I'll walk you through how to build this scissor deadfall trap. And then I want to show you a bird trap as well. So, because we've talked about fish, we've talked about foraging for plants, we've talked about insects, we've talked about hunting and trapping. And I want this trapping to include not only mammals and rodents and different animals like that, but also to include fowl. So I want to show you a bird trap as well. But this trap simply employs a very basic trigger system. The animal comes in. Once again, the whole backside of this trap is fenced off, so the animal can't get to it from the backside. We don't usually show the fencing in a lot of our videos because they obscure the view of the full trap, and we want you to be able to see the full trap in action. But you would fence off the backside of it so the animal couldn't get into it. But the animal comes in, he goes to the back to reach for the bait, and once he goes down, gets that bait, the log drops and crushes the animal. And the goal for this trap is that the amount of weight on this log is going to drop, and once again it's going to disable the animal as quickly as possible. It's going to dispatch them so they have very little suffering, if at all. So here's the bird trap I was telling you about. It consists of pretty much a predominatory peg, some string, and then a box trap. This here is a very easy to trap to configure, and takes very little effort, and once again something you can build at camp. And what happens is the bird comes in flapping, trying to get the seed. He sets off the line, setting off the trap, capturing the bird inside of it. And when you get ready to dispatch it, you move all the pieces apart, reach in there and grab the bird, or you can reach in there and stab the bird. So up to this point, we've covered the 6 principles, which is to mitigate risk and fear, to meet first aid and security needs, to maintain core body temperature, minimize dehydration, maximize rescue, and manage caloric intake and expenditure. If you missed any of those episodes, be sure to go back and check those out. Your body requires fuel in order to operate, and when your body begins to step into this moment of deprivation where you're lacking calories, your body begins to shut down. And so it's important that you're getting all the essential macronutrients like your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. Without those 3, there's different things, even like what's called rabbit starvation, where you can eat all the protein in the world, eating all the rabbits, but if you don't eat the skin and eat different parts of the body on the rabbit, you're not going to get enough fat, and you're actually going to suffer what's called rabbit starvation. So I've really enjoyed shooting this series. I hope you got a lot out of it. Once again, there's a lot of survival videos out there on how to do things, but you never understand why. And that was really the goal and purpose of this whole entire series, is to not just show you how to do a bunch of things, but provide you the philosophy and the principles behind each and every aspect of survival.